A reading from Mark, chapter 16, verses 1 through 8. When Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome brought spices so that they might go to anoint Jesus' body. Very early on the first day of the week, just after sunrise, they were on their way to the tomb. And they asked each other, "Who will roll away the stone from the entrance of the tomb?" But when they looked up, they saw the stone, which was very large, had been rolled away. As they entered the tomb, they saw a young man dressed in a white robe sitting on the right side, and they were alarmed. "Don't be alarmed," he said. "You are looking for Jesus the Nazarene who was crucified. But he is risen. He is not here. See the place where they laid him? But go and tell his disciples and Peter, he is going ahead of you into Galilee, and there you will see him, just as he told you." Trembling and bewildered, the women went out and fled from the tomb. They said nothing to anyone because they were afraid. Trembling and bewildered. That's how it ends. The Gospel of Mark, the first gospel thought to ever be written, ends with the women leaving the tomb, utterly terrified. After a grueling week, they had seen their friend be betrayed, beaten, and killed. They had mourned him and cried over his body just a few days ago. They had begun to think about what life would be like without their dear companion, Jesus. They had prepared spices to anoint his body, hoping to honor and care for him even after death. But when they finally arrived at the tomb, the women were sad, grief-stricken, and worn, for they had come to care for someone, and there was no one to care for. The emptiness of the tomb was reflected in themselves as they were struck with fear, loneliness, and worry. Why does the Gospel of Mark end with the story of fear of these women? Perhaps because that is real. It's the truth about the human condition, that we feel deep hurt. All the things that the women were feeling, we will feel in life as well. Sadness, fear, grief, worry, weariness, loneliness. We feel pain, just like they did and just like Jesus did. The story of Jesus is completely intertwined into the story of humanity, because you cannot share it without sharing the effect that it has had on people, then at the tomb and now with us. The original Gospel of Mark ends after verse 8. But later, biblical writers thought that there was more story to be told, so they added text, and they wrote about the women and the disciples seeing Jesus and Jesus being risen into the heavens to be at the right hand of God. And then they said, the disciples went out and preached everywhere, and the Lord worked with them and confirmed his word by the signs that accompanied it. At first, the women were grieved and afraid, but once they saw Jesus, their fear turned into joy and astonishment. They were filled with hope and love, and it changed the course of the rest of their lives. There's a poem by Mary Oliver that says, "Instructions for how to live a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it." The story of Easter does not revolve around our large gatherings, elaborate worship services, or favorite hymns, and it is most definitely not canceled this year. The risen Christ will meet us in our backyards or in our homes because he is in our hearts. In the moments where we are astonished at the good in the world, when we are awestruck by nature, or when we sit in wonder at the things God has done, when, although we feel grief, we also feel joy, when, although we are afraid, we also feel hope, or when, although we are saddened, we are overcome with love. That is when the risen Christ has shown himself to us and has been resurrected in our hearts. So let's pay attention, let's be astonished, and let's tell about it. Let the message of the risen Christ change your heart, change your day, and change the course of the rest of your life, just like it did for the women at the tomb.